So you said you're married, right? So how did your wife feel about that whole situation? Like, how did she feel about how that went down?
The article or about investing in general?
Both. Well, I was talking about the article, but since you
Yeah.
put that piece in, let's do both.
She, wives get territorial, defensive, right? About you. So she was like, "No, you need to find out who wrote that. Why didn't they tell you, right?" So
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, let's make sure. Like, if it's cool, it could be helpful, right?" And so I was just more concerned with like, let me read the article before I go blow up on somebody. And she was super protective, always protective of me. But it worked out well, so she was good with it. But like my marriage in general, from an investment perspective, marriage has been a cheat code, man. Like the whole reason I was able to buy that first property, like I only had $1,000 in my savings account, and I needed $20,000 to buy the property, and so we leveraged my wife's 401k. I didn't have one. I told you I wasn't smart with my money. I wasn't even putting money in a 401k. So I had to go to my wife and say, "Hey, can we borrow money out of our 401k to buy this property?" And she didn't even hesitate. She was like, "Let's do it."
Wow.
So we wouldn't be where we were. We wouldn't be where we are now if she didn't just believe and trust me, even when she didn't have a reason to, because I wasn't financially responsible, and she still had my back.
Wow.
Oh, that's gangster.
Yo, that's crazy. You know what's crazy about that? Anyone that we've had in our podcast, this is like episode 118 or whatever, that has been something that's everybody who's married has said. Marriage is the cheat code. I believe it too. It's funny. I said it when I was on Hatch's podcast.
Yeah.
You're so true, but your story, like you can pinpoint. She literally gave you the money out of her 401k.
Actual literal cheat code.
Yeah, it said go to work. Like that's a phenomenal story. Another thing I was thinking about, you just said that though. So you were working at Walmart, which is known for like stock options and giving employees great 401ks, and you weren't even contributing?
I was so dumb.
Wow. I'm going to tell you a story about that. One of my best friends, who's a millionaire right now, he made his first million working as a manager for Walmart and off of stock options.
Yeah.
Have you ever sat back and thought about like what you missed out on with options at Walmart?
That's what I was about to tell you, man. Like, I try not to think about it too much, but since y'all gonna make me cry on this show, I'm gonna tell y'all about it, right? And so, I tell everybody everything. Like, I'm not trying to hide nothing, right? So, like, when I got hired, they paid me. It was like $63,422. Like I remember the numbers, and it also came with, they were going to buy, I think at the time, it was every year they would purchase $4,000 worth of Walmart stock in my name. And so at the time when I got hired, Walmart stock was at like $38 to $40 a share.
Jesus.
And so like every year they would just automatically buy it for you. And then you couldn't touch it for 3 years, right? And so it just would grow, because you weren't allowed to touch the stocks that they buy for 3 years. And so like they were buying them every year, but you couldn't touch that first set of stocks until they were 3 years old. And so then every year, once you hit your 3-year period with those stocks, you're allowed to sell them and cash out, or let them stay and grow. And, I sold them every year. When I had extra stocks, I didn't know anything about the stock market. I didn't understand the value of what I had. I had no clue. I sold every stock. Every stock Walmart bought for me, I sold.
Wow. And you know the crazy part,
if I still had that right now.
That's a lesson. I mean, it's a lesson in that, because one of the only jobs I've had as an adult, I used to work for J&J, and it was kind of the same thing. And I knew people that like worked in middle management who were millionaires for doing the same thing, just for doing their job, and they would get the stock. But now doing this work, I talk to a lot of people who work at big corporations and have opportunities and just don't contribute because they don't know any better. It's not your fault. You didn't know. But I mean, it's a lesson in that, because now if someone coming after you, you could tell them like, yo, while you're there, because there's a couple things in your story. You talked about like not just the money part, right? But what you learned from being within that business. So for anyone out there looking to build a business and you're working in a bigger business, I mean, look at their infrastructure. Look at how they do things. You can learn while you work. You know what I'm saying? As you build your own thing. Man, that story's crazy though.
Yeah, man. Like I said, he Dos Equis, man. Like he got all of like ins and outs, the dope stories, like, but you know that. But the thing about his story is that it's so genuine and it's so real. Like you can't like you can't make this stuff up. Yeah, like man. if you making this stuff up, first of all, if you do make it up, you absolutely nuts. You shouldn't be making it, like, because like all the opportunities the opportunity cost that, like, your story is a story about opportunity cost, right? And so opportunities that you missed and opportunities that you got by doing certain things, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the lessons in opportunity cost that your story has is amazing.
I appreciate it, man. I've learned a lot, some the hard way, some the good way, man.